This is the second episode of my 2-episode interview with Angela Cartwright. Enjoy.
And then I went on the Danny Thomas show, and I was 4. And I got that part with my English accent even, which over time they did teach me not to have this English accent. There was just something. There was something that just, I guess they just went with their instinct. I had no experience, but they sure gave me some great lines, some great zingers.
Mm-hmm.
Love that on Danny Thomas show. And that show was so different from my home life because I came from an English family. We had tea every day at 3:00. It was, and here is Danny, loud and boisterous and gregarious. And I was like, whoa, what is this? Nothing like my dad. But I loved doing that show. We did it live every week in front of a live audience. Every Thursday.
You did?
Yeah, it was like doing a play every week. And did that for 7 years.
Wow. Do you have any recollection, by the way, of that audition at all? I mean, you're 4 years old. Do you even remember anything about that?
Well, I do remember, I kind of don't remember all the logistics, but
Yeah.
I do remember that I had to say, Mary Had a Little Lamb. I had to say that poem, and then I had to turn in a circle, and then I had to say it's sad. And at the end of saying it's sad, apparently I started laughing. So, I don't know. I won them over. I guess it stuck out. I think I was one of the youngest kids to go on that part. I've heard. They had cast somebody else who did a couple shows, and I guess she just didn't. There was something about it. I don't even know her name. You could probably look it up, but
Yeah. I was just going to say, and Danny Thomas, from what I've read, at least, it sounds like you were quite close.
You know what? We were. The whole set. I just remember being Marjorie Lord, who was my mom in it, was just so lovely to me. Everybody was really. I don't know. It was different then. There weren't a ton of people that were in showbiz.
Mm-hmm.
There was just this little club, there was the Jane North and the different shows that had kids in it.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't the tons and tons of actors that knew, oh, I could do this. It wasn't the video thing because it was just television. It was just classic TV. So it was different. And I'm glad I was born in that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, very protected as a kid. My mom went to the set with me every day. So I don't have any horror stories. Mm-hmm. And Danny was always lovely to me.
Wow. By the way, you mentioned Jay North, and obviously, I think Billy Gray would have been around that time. All these guys.
Right.
Did you know them or at that time or not?
Yeah, Billy was a little older, but Jay North and who else? John Provost.
Sure.
Yes, and the reason we would know each other is we did a lot of charity work, and we also did a lot of for TV Guide. They'd get us all together, the kids of the shows or whatever, and then we would take a picture. So our paths crossed many times. I also did 2 specials for Dinah Shore show. Mm-hmm. One called Ghosts, Goblins, and Kids, and the other was Children or People. And we were the stars. It was all kids. Oh. And that was Ricky, what is his name?
Nelson? Ricky Nelson? No.
No, he was way older, but he was Lucy and Desi's.
Oh, you mean Keith Thibodeau?
Keith Thibodeau, right.
Sure.
Yeah, he played Ricky.
Yeah.
But we did, let's see, Jay North and Teddy Rooney. We did one of them. And it was all children performers. Matter of fact, I did the Hollywood show, and Ann Jillian came up to me. And I'll never forget her because she had the most beautiful voice. And she sang this song in a tree in the show. I remember it so well. And she's just lovely today. And it was like seeing your friends from or like acquaintances from your grammar school, you know.
Hmm.
It's just
Hmm.
like, oh, how are you? How have you been? it's it's very unusual. I'm, you know, Bill and I often talk about this kind of exclusive club.
Hmm.
You know, we were very fortunate as children. We've often talked about that. um, and I think you know, not everybody can experience that.
No, I think you're right. I've had, John Provost, obviously. I've had Bill and Billy Gray. I've been fortunate to get to know a lot of these people, and I'll tell you, it's a very common theme. I mean, and by the way, Keith Thibodeau, same way that you have that bond that it, like you said, it's a club. It's like no one outside can understand what you were going through as a kid during that
Right.
time, and that's pretty rare.
Right. It does feel very exclusive and kind of Jerry Mathers. I
Oh,
did
sure.
him also. It does feel very kind of special in a lot of ways. And you're right. Not everybody can explain that kind of feeling. You know,
Hmm.
Bill and I kind of touched on it a bit on the book that we wrote together, the Lost and Found in Space 2. Um,
Do you
that
have it, by the way?
oh, I do. You want to see it?
Yeah, let's see it. I bought
Ta-da!
it, by the way. That's why I'm saying, do you have it? Yeah.
You know how this book came about. We were given access to by Kevin Burns, who big fan of Lost in Space. We were given access to any pictures we wanted.
Hmm.
He was certainly an advocate. He passed away tragically. I'm just awful that he did.
Hmm.
But he had bought the CBS archives for Lost in Space and also all of Irwin Allen's shows. And he always supported us because I kind of think if you don't have an advocate, you can just vanish into the abyss. I
Yeah.
mean, there are many great shows out there, but if you don't have someone keeping it alive, I mean,
Hmm.
he always, you know, helped Irwin's widow, directed her in a way to keep it alive, you know, sell it to these places, this after, you know, the cable television at the time.
Sure.
So it was alive for a long time. And then we got all these pictures, and Bill and I started to talk about the memories that came back when we looked at them. And that's where the book was born. It was during COVID. We did a lot by phone, and we just had a blast remembering everything. Really brought back a lot of memories. And there's some wonderful pictures if you're a fan of the show. And there's so many people were touched by this show.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, I did buy it after I talked to both of you, and I agree with you. It's not just like, you're throwing out fluff or whatever. It is. I mean, I don't know what else you could have covered in the book or shown. I mean, it's all there, you
It
know.
is all there. I still that on my website, signed by Bill and me, and I'll personalize it too. So that's AngelaCartwrightStudio.com. I do have those books that make a great gift for someone that grew up with the show
Oh
or
yeah.
loves, you know, Lost in Space. There's a whole new generation. It's like that they show their kids and then they're like all hooked on the robot and stuff.
Yep. Oh yeah, it'll just keep going. Believe me, it'll keep going. Going back, actually, I want to go back to Danny Thompson, then maybe we'll come back less. But I don't want to forget, that time period is so special in television. I mean, wasn't that much around, you know what I mean? There wasn't as many. But Danny Thomas, because of who he was, you had so many incredible guest stars. You had like Milton Berle was on there, you know. Do you remember? I mean, I know that you were younger, or maybe later on you had a better memory, but do you remember some of these like comic greats that were around him?
Yeah, I didn't realize at the time that they were like, you know, Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. And I mean, he had all of them because it was kind
Yeah.
of like a rat pack. They all went to
Hmm.
Vegas, they all performed there, and then they all were on the show. I didn't really, when I was younger, realize that, but Gail Gordon, I always, he was hilarious. They, the old shows kind of, just there's just a charm about it. Even working with Lucy, we did a couple shows with Lucy and Desi, where the Williams and, the Ricardos, they
Ricardo's.
were all kind of at each other. We, borrowed their house and they went to New York, and that's one of the best shows ever. That was one of my very favorites. It's hilarious.
Do you remember
And we were on the
Lucy?
lot together. We were there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people know this, but Danny's show, he had like Andy Griffith on the show, and then they found he resonated with the audience. We got good ratings. We were always near the top, if not at the top. And then he'd do a spinoff. Joey Bishop's show was the same thing, right there on the lot. That was Desilu Studios. I remember that so well, that studio lot. It was just a charming old, well, it wasn't old at the time, but it's old. It's old now. I don't even think it's a studio now. But
So what was shoot? Actually, lay it out because I know people that'll listen to this and they'll be like, "Oh, could you just tell me like what was around? Like, what do you remember the way, the different shows that were right there with you?"
yeah, well, it was pretty much the classics. There was Bill Dana. Remember Bill Dana?
Oh yeah,
Bill
Bill.
Bixby was another one that was a spinoff because he was the delivery boy on Danny Thomas' show.
Oh wow.
That we were in the corner lot, and I remember that they had the phone. They answered the phones there, and I used to love to go over to the switchboard. I just loved that, and they used to let me put the things in the holes. That's how I know I'm really aging myself, but it was
I
just
love it.
it really was entertainment to me as a 6 and 7 year old. Yeah, and then Lucy and Desi, they shot their show, but a lot of these shows they were shot live.
Hmm.
We had script reading Monday, blocking Tuesday, Wednesday the cameras we blocked with that, and then Thursday night we shot. And my mother was always trying to get me to take a nap in the afternoon because we shot until like 9 or 10 at night. But it was, and then as I was older, I had to go to school 3 hours a day.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that, that was always a part of it. But it was, I mean, it was certainly an experience that, to be on a series for 7 years, we did so many shows and to do it live. And Danny he changed the lines right up to the last minute. But he really taught me everything I know about comedy and timing and what to look for and expect and stuff like that. He was a great teacher just by doing it.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. And you were mentioning Rusty. He would just. So was he just at that age where he just would, kind of always be razzing you?
Annoying brother. He would trip me before I'd go out. He'd pull my ponytail all the time. I always pull my ponytail. I guess it was kind of irresistible at the time. He was, he was a nice kid, but he came from a broken family. Danny kind of took him under his wing.
Yeah.
So kind of a sadder story. And of course, his ending was very sad.
Yeah. No. No. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was funny. He really was funny in the show, I think. And of
Oh.
course, the writers gave us the best lines.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. Would you guys? I mean, was he just too much? Like as far as age wise, would you guys hang out at all, or was it like?
No, we were too far apart in age.
I gotcha.
I mean, and we were at least 5 years. I mean, I was just a little kid. I was like
Yeah.
4,
Right.
and he
Yeah.
was like 10.
Yeah.
So that way, it was just too big of a space.
I got you. Did you stay in touch, by the way? I mean, I don't mean, but were you in touch for a while or did you kind of go your own way? Because you got a lot going on right after the show, obviously.
Right. I mean, I did Sound of Music, always was in touch, Christmas card wise, and on and off with Marjorie and Danny both. But not Rusty, kind of lost
Hmm.
touch with him. And yeah, my life, after the Sound of Music, I went right into Lost in Space. I was on the lot for a while, and then I went into Lost in Space. So, and that was my space family.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Literally, you went from one family into the Von Trapp family, and then you've got your Lost in Space family. It's incredible. I mean, it really is. What
Yeah, I'm very blessed.
you without a doubt you were blessed. If you want to get in on the fun of That's Classic, go to my merchandise store. You can get a t-shirt, a mug, or a variety of items. The QR code is right here on the screen that'll take you right to the site, or I'll put it in the description below the video. Hey, by the way, you mentioned the Beatles. I heard you in one tiny moment say, I actually met the Beatles, and no one ever went on that. I'm like, when was that?
I did meet the Beatles. I met them at they were here from England to America to do the Hollywood Bowl performance, which I
Yes.
do. And they had a party. CBS had a party that they threw, and I went and I met them, and I was just I have that picture too. That's
Wow. Wow.
just shaking hands with them. I just loved their music. It always just really resonated to me. I love it to this day. There's songs that are so iconic that I just always loved.
Who did you meet out of the Beatles that was the one for you? I mean, everybody had their
The
Beatles.
one for I always loved Paul. I just did. My sister loved John, and Heather always loved George. So
Wow.
go figure. And I know there was someone out there for Ringo.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
That is awesome. By the way, you know what? The other thing too is you were mentioning Heather. I thought that was cool. You were in Logan's Run, which she was in obviously as well. That was her show with
Yeah.
Gregory Harrison. What was that like for you all that, after time and now you're on that show with her?
It was just what happened in Hollywood. You see, at the time, there were not that many. Of course, there were several, but there wasn't this influx of actors and actresses. So you did do a lot of the shows.
Yeah.
And I did do Logan's Run with Gregory Harrison
Yep.
and Heather. And that was just great fun for me to do that show. That was fun. That's
So it was
when I
just
went through my period of doing guest roles.
yeah, and you got to be with her again.
Yeah. Yeah. Heather and I, until the day she passed, were very, very close friends.
Oh, that's pretty cool. By the way, on a totally another note, you did, which I've never heard you talk about, is you did that Lady Schick speed styler commercial with Farrah Fawcett.
Gone viral on the internet.
Yeah, and I think I actually saw it on your Instagram, believe it or not, too. What do you have any recollection of that? And was Farrah, any recollection of her?
Um, she seemed sweet. We didn't really have that much together. There was just a picture of where we were, the three of us.
Yeah.
And sadly, I don't remember the redhead's name. I don't remember who that was.
Yeah.
She seemed very sweet. There's, it's funny with actors. I don't know how it is today, but in those days, you all kind of just respected where each of you were. And it was like, hey, we're making this cool commercial, with this thing that dries your hair.
Yeah.
I had cut all my hair off. Actually, it wasn't my choice. I went to the hairdresser and I don't know, he just cut my hair off. And I was devastated at the time, but on hindsight, I'm glad he did because I don't know if I ever would have had the guts to do it. And it did. It was that new,
Look.
era for me.
Yeah.
And I liked it actually very much.
It looks great, man. Yeah, it does.
So someday I'll write in a book and I'll say who that was that did that.
Right. And how you really feel about him. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I can't let you go without, I guess you've mentioned the families and we've talked about obviously the Danny Thomas, experience. And we talked about Von Trapp, Lost in Space, because I know somebody's going to watch this and they're not going to have seen the one that I did with you and Bill. What was your, feeling, I guess, for looking at each of the cast members, like, Jonathan Harris and Guy Williams and June Lockhart and obviously Marta Kristen and Bill and Mark Goddard. What are, I guess what's your take on each of them, from that time? With
Well, you do know that in the Lost and Found in Space book, we break everybody down as to our Bill's thoughts, my thoughts. So
right.
there is that. But it was a great cast. June was so smart, and she was such a wordsmith, and she's still doing well today. We lost Guy Williams way too early, but he was very serious and always so kind. It was just a kind group. Mark was a devil, though. He was so hilarious. He was just a funny person. He always made me laugh. I loved his quick wit, but he was a little bad boy. Marta, sweet and kind, and has such an interesting past and story. When you talk about people that, like, what? How did you become, in movies?
I agree with you. Anybody out there, go watch that interview that I did with Marta, because she's dead on right, Angela, on that one. Yeah.
I mean, she's gorgeous, but there are a lot of people in the world that, how did that happen? So you have to believe somewhat in fate.
Yep.
And, it was just crazy. Bill, I just talked to him this morning, just to see how he was doing. It's very, kind of crazy right now, but
yes.
Okay, he's hanging in there, and he has, 3 grandkids, and he's enjoying those. And of course, he's just keeps writing these songs and this music, and then he asked me if I'll do the CD cover and the pictures and stuff, which I love. And he has a brand new CD out, by the way, called Wonder World.
Wow.
I really enjoy his music. Very heartfelt. So you can learn a lot about Bill by listening to his music. Who did I miss?
Jonathan.
Jonathan. Oh my God. He was such a character. He was bigger than life. He was the greatest storyteller I have ever met. He had wonderful stories because he had a whole, career before he became Dr. Smith. And he created that character. He created Dr. Smith and made him what he was. So I loved Jonathan. He was just, he was a great guy. It's hard to, I miss these people, that are no longer with us. And Bob May deserves,
of course. Yeah.
That guy, man, he was the robot. This was something he really cherished, being the robot. And he was a little quirky, but he was a great guy.
Wow. Did you, by the way, when I think of the show, and I saw this also in something, it made me wonder, how often did you switch locations from just like the, quote unquote, the set and go,
Well, in Lost in Space, we hardly ever did.
Right.
We were always on the set there. In the first season, though, and the pilot, we did do some shooting on the back lot.
Okay.
My friend Mr. Nobody was, a cave, and that was on the back lot. But basically, and I'm sure it was for money reasons, because it was not an inexpensive show to do, we're just right there on the set. And that's where they had the spaceship.
Obviously, we talked a bit about this in the first one, but that spaceship set, when you were on it, was it like, was it just like, oh, that's so phony, or was it like, this is unbelievable to be working in that?
Well, I think with acting, when you are in the role, that's your home. That, I never stepped back and went, oh, this is a set. It was, okay, this is where I would live. This is where I would have my hydroponic garden. I am a zoologist, and I do have all this knowledge. That's who I played. I was Penny Robinson, and I became Penny Robinson when I was doing my role as Penny Robinson.
Wow. Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Um, your outfit, the silver outfit. I heard
Oh,
multiple times cardboard. Was it really cardboard?
the first season, that was painful. It couldn't, if you bent your arm, it just cut right into your arm. It was really, really uncomfortable.
Ah,
And when we had a leotard and tights underneath, we would unzip it and we'd have to just lie, flat like this. Very, very uncomfortable. But then NASA developed mylar,
mhm.
and that's why the second season our spacesuits are in mylar, which was hot but very comfortable. And so that made a huge difference. That first year, they were so unmovable. It was like a fire retardant piece of cardboard. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It really was a bad experience. And couldn't sit, and it was just very uncomfortable.
Did it affect how you acted? I mean,
Yeah,
when
that's
you're
what
going,
acting is. You don't know what
yeah,
the things. You can be sick as a dog and you still act. You just don't let it get to you. You have to get past it. It's like you shoot bathing suit in freezing cold weather and fur coats when it's 100 degrees out. That's what being an actor is.
yep.
That's why you were hired, and you just do your job.
Wow, wow. Well, I got to tell you, they looked good. I will say that. Like, I still look back and I go, the way they shimmer and all that, they look good. But that
Yeah.
blows my mind that they were biting into you like that. Unreal. But
Oh yeah, and even our other suits, which were like Bill's, were velour. Mine were more of a polyestery kind of material, knitted material, and those were, they were warm, they were hot, but they always kept the set pretty cold.
oh, okay, I got you.
Uh,
By the way, does it put you in shock when you see what they went for, like at auction recently, the outfits from
yeah,
Lost in Space?
crazy, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I guess, there are collectors. Thank God there are collectors,
yeah,
because I love the idea of these pieces being in somebody's collection. Even
true.
the Do Re Mi outfits. Um, at the old 20th, they had I was me, by the way, that was my note. Me, Do Re Mi. My me dress, which had a big collar, and it was that material of the 60s. It kind of had flower. It was curtain material, or it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
That dress was big, framed on the wall. I wonder who has that now.
Oh, is that cool?
I know, it's
Seriously.
really cool. I was like, oh, that's my outfit. Oh, I'm so twee. I feel like a little. But I'm glad there are collectors. And they treasure that stuff. They take care of it,
Yeah.
and it's lovely that they do that.
No, it is. It is when it comes to super fans on that stuff.
New generation, you
Yeah,
know.
it's right. It'll keep it going. Hey, Angela, I appreciate you. I loved having you back on. I could talk to you for another hour about the other part of your career. You've been so giving, and I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that we were able to do this, and obviously the 60th anniversary of The Sound of Music. I hope you and I are talking when it's the 70th anniversary of The Sound of Music.
Oh,
I mean,
I do
come on.
too.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, anyway, thanks again. I really appreciate you being on.
Oh, thank you, and thank your audience for listening.
Oh, please, no doubt. All right, we'll see you. Thanks again.
Bye.
Well, thanks for listening, and definitely hit the subscription button. As well, hit the notification bell so that you'll know when my next episode is released. In addition, check out some of my other interviews if you haven't had a chance. Eric Roberts, Henry Winkler, Jerry Mathers from Leave It to Beaver. There's so many. Enjoy.